questions to jointly discuss with the panel. And also it's time for audience to type your questions. If you have any comments, thoughts, or question to our amazing panel, please type them on the chat. And also you can use the raise hand option if you want to ask question. For panel, until people type any questions on the chat, from the panel, I have a very interesting question to ask. First of all, this is something that we always talk behind, and I need to ask from the panel, from your experience, for nurses to participate in podcasts and storytellings, what would be the barriers as you see, and maybe what would be the facilitators for them to do it?
I think the fear of breach of confidentiality is probably one. Not really sure how you would get around that, except perhaps setting some guidelines, so that if you stay within these particular guidelines, you'll be okay.
And for us to remind potential podcasters that Lynn does the editing afterwards as well. So even if you forget to keep something confidential. So so maybe our guidelines could include instructions around that.
Yes. I mean, I know with because PhDs, the nature of them, they all have to go through the ethics committee. So in putting that together, I had to have a written, proposal of what ethically we could talk about and we could not talk about. So that was something concrete, I think, that really helped guiding that process, and obviously things like pseudonyms, you don't mention the name of the university that you're studying at. People did do that every now and again, and it's so hard. I think Lynn can do that, trying to cut that little tiny bit out of the podcast, things like that there are sort of slip ups, but I think the clear guidelines.
And I think me being the podcast sort of at the moment, the podcast editor and probably interviewer, but just at the moment, because we want this to spread all over Australia. We'll all be interviewers and interviewees with nurses everywhere. I think sending a copy prior to it being published might be a way to also say, this is what you want me to take out or leave in. Does it sound okay to you? That's something I've thought I'll do. And I think I did that with Karen.
Thank you, Lynn. So from the chat, do we have any questions?
Catherine's asking Susan if you would have a couple of writing prompts, if you can remember the writing prompts that you used with students, and without us having to read your PhD. Sorry, I didn't mean to be cheeky, of course. Well, your PhD sounds like they're one of the most interesting, and I would like to read it, but sorry, I didn't mean to be flippant.
No, that's all right. I mean, I don't know. We started, the very first one I got people to do was, who am I? So it was just a wide open question. People can say whatever it is that they want, where I come from, or whether I'm an international student, or whether I'm a mum of 3 children, or, whatever people wanted, just to open the door as to, well, who am I? And then it opens, well, who am I? I'm living in this parallel universe, and out comes all these, the reality of being in COVID. You live in Adelaide, where we were the safest place in the world at one point during COVID, because there was no COVID. But you've got someone there from China that's how it all started. There was a young man in my group whose father was from Wuhan, and, listening his story, that's how it all started. He hadn't said anything. And so who am I? It just starts off this, well, I'm someone from China, but I'm living in Adelaide. These are my 2 different realities. So really any prompt, I don't think it really matters. Anything just gets people down that rabbit hole,
But personalize it for them
They will do it for themselves. Yeah.
Yes,
You could never get two answers the same.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
For the gerontological nursing competencies, when the participants, the last assessment task is a portfolio, and the participants are asked to write about their nursing philosophy. That might be another prompt question as well. You know, who are you as a person, but then what's your nursing philosophy? And then perhaps more specific after that. I don't know what you think to that, Susan.
It's also that's really good. It might just be it's getting a bit big. So what do you mean by philosophy? Is maybe going back a little bit, like, you know, values, like it's sort of like a stepping stone, you know, creeping deeper and deeper. So start reasonably superficial until you build up that rapport with somebody that they can then feel comfortable to go deeper. I'm just trying to think of an example. I remember saying to someone once, well, what did you do for money? And then, you know, you can have a very superficial, this is during COVID, a very superficial response to a very deep response, you know, to, you know, have, well, I didn't eat, you know, that kind of thing. Or, you know, I was able to tap into my super. But what does that mean, tapping into your super when you're young? You're not meant to do that, because that will impact when you're older. And if you were like a local student, you didn't have to do that. So then it brings up, you know, anger, and before you know it, you're just down a track that you weren't even planning to. So I think the main thing is just stepping back. For me, it was just letting them talk and editing out later.
I think part of Susan, I really value your work in this area, because I would say it's novel, it's new, and I think it really relates to gerontological nursing, especially in, you know, residential and community care, because of the it's complex, challenging, hard work, lots of shifts, and the retention rate isn't great. And so, you know, an aim for bridging nurses in aged care is giving something to bond us all together. And I think what you're saying would be really useful, and I'm wondering if that's worthy of a podcast, an ongoing podcast. And I think it might be. I think it's really useful information. I originally thought clinical information would be good, but perhaps that it needs also some of what you've talked about. Who am I with this question? That's really piqued my interest. Thank you.
I think sometimes, like, just asking the same question of every single person that comes on the show it would be quite interesting.
Yes, really, yeah.
That's a bit like desert island discs then, isn't it?
I don't know.
How would
that
you
one.
survive on an island?
Yes.
But anyway, I won't digress, because Cash has got a question for Karen. So Cash has asked Karen, do you think talking on a podcast, sorry, oh, my screen's moved now. Sorry, I have to go back up again. Do you think talking on a podcast would give other nurses more confidence and maybe pride in what they're doing? Because that's a really important mission for our GANA organisation.
I think confidence is the whole key. So do I want to talk on a podcast? No. Do I want to listen to a podcast? Absolutely. Yes. So that's why I'm like, sure, then I'll give it a crack. Hopefully we get the ball rolling. Do I have more confidence in my position? Is exactly the same. Actually, I was confident in my role already. But if Lynn asked me again, I'd be like, actually, no, I would go again, because it was just so easy to sit down and talk to her. But that, I think, was the barrier with the nurses that I work with, that I said, hey, I've got somebody who's asking for to interview us. Anybody want to share? And it really was, the reluctance was the feeling that they didn't have anything to share.
Mm. And yet we know there's so much to share. There's such a deep treasure trove of information in our nurses. Yeah.
For
I
sure.
think once the podcasts are launched, I'm sure you'll have more gerontological nurses volunteering to do their own podcast when they see that what we're just wanting to hear is about their expertise and just their everyday work and how they actually have a positive impact on the older people they work with, and their
What
do you mean?
teammates.
You can't say once they're launched, Vicky. They are launched.
They are
Lynn just launched them.
Well, now that they have launched, I hope we've got a little contacts form beside them that says if you wish to do a podcast, and when they hear you, Lynn, and how easy you are to talk to as well, that's going to be a big draw card.
And there's another draw card.
As an audience, and Gems definitely working in clinical care, what topics do you think would be interesting for our podcasts? So this is your time. You can definitely pop them into the chat. We'll be reading the chat to extract all of these data. So I think we'll probably do the announcement of the prize too. For the first nurse who is going to give their details to be interviewed in this podcast, we have a gift for you. Rosanne generously is going to gift this book for the first person who is going to sign up for our podcast. And please type your name and contact details into the chat. Maybe you can email directly to GANA too. We will be then emailing you with the prize announcement.
Sure. Oh, that is great, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
Podcast me.
Oh,
Jennifer beat Don though. Justin.
Did she though?
No, Jennifer, you might need to put your email address into the chat or send it to us. So we've got we got it so it's easy for us to find your email address. Maybe I'll put the GANA email address into the chat.